Good morning. Welcome to this segment of our interview today. It is so lovely to happen on your office this morning, and actually, I have enjoyed just listening to your work over the years, and it's just so amazing to be here with you today. Congratulations on your upcoming award, the American Psychological Association APA International Humanitarian Award 2022. And this award will actually be in live in person in the United States of America. So I hope you have your visa ready and your plane ticket for that wonderful trip, red carpet entry. I really celebrate you. You know, it's not often that we actually see each other, acknowledge each other and celebrate each other. So today I'm just here to do that, and congratulations retired Major Wairimu Mukuria for your amazing work. You and your team are making a great impact in military and civilian families' lives. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about you as you are on your journey to collect your global award. So when did your journey to becoming a uniformed officer begin?
Wow. Well, first of all, Joyce, karibu sana. Welcome to our new offices here in Ngong, Frester Center on the fifth floor, door C5. I'm so happy that you're here and we get to meet physically after such a long time because of COVID, of just like talking on WhatsApp and meeting on Zoom calls and da 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 da. So yeah, I'm really happy that you're here today and we can be able to just have a conversation from one professional to another. Congratulations to you as well on your PhD. That's amazing. And so I'm looking forward to having a deeper conversation with you about that. So for now, I guess let's just focus on the question that you asked me about my journey as a soldier, essentially. Well, it's not something that I used to think about or dream about. It's not an expectation I had in life. All I did was see an advert in the paper, or was it my dad who saw it? I forget. But my dad was involved in this narrative because, and then I sent my application on the last day of the deadline. I actually had to use G4S because I got so busy, I forgot. At the time, I was working in a drop-in center in Gara that was dealing with individuals who were HIV positive and they used to use heroin intravenously. So it was really, really busy, and every day was just a ride. But I managed to get my application in, and as it works, the announcements of the people who are shortlisted come into the newspaper. Then you have to show up to the center where you have to go and get interviewed. You have to go and get your physical evaluation done, your medical evaluation done, and then you have to now go ahead and meet with the commissioning board, and then whether you're in or you're out. So for me, I just went through the motions. I remember at the time I had my locks, right? And the weekend before the interview, which happened in Langata Barracks, I remember I went to my loctician and I said, you need to cut these locks because I don't think those guys in the military understand that this is the way we are supposed to be naturally. So, I mean, I've only ever had two hairstyles that I rock for most of my life. A clean shaved head or dreadlocks, right? So he went and, cut my hair, and it was like a solemn ceremony. Locks are so spiritual. They are deeply, it's deeply identifying to have dreadlocks, and the person who takes care of them for you is like so involved, so it was like a solemn ceremony, and he cuts them. And I remember my boyfriend at the time saying to me, you're so beautiful with your locks. What if you cut them and they don't pick you? And I said to him, look here, my love. Even if they don't pick me, it's only hair. It will grow back. So I guess even before I knew it, I did not have a very huge attachment with, maybe I would say, things that necessarily evolve or change. And that is a personal philosophy of life that has really come to serve me, you know, not being too attached to things, to be readily willing and able to just release things. So basically that's how my journey started. I didn't know what it meant. I remember we were in DOD for a commissioning board, and I remember this gentleman. I came to work with him later on. At the time, he was a medical officer. He specialized and became a pediatrician. And I remember he was wearing his naval combat uniform, and he was moving around around the vicinity where we were getting our commissioning done. And one of us knew him. They came from the same place in Shags or something. So our conversation started, and everyone was like, tell us, how is basic training? Tell us, how is it working in the military? Tell us. Because in the military, it's just shrouded with mystery. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what will happen. You don't know who you'll meet. You don't know the kind of work you'll do. You don't know anything. And so this guy was just like, really, there's nothing I can tell you. Just go through the motions. And I was like, oh my God, you're so stingy with information. But now I can tell you, no one can explain to you about basic training. It's just experiential. It's experiential. And I guess when you ask me my journey towards being a soldier, that's why soldiers are made. Soldiers are not born. Soldiers are created, you know? And for soldiers to be created, that basic training needs to happen. And you have to have a certain part of who you are, who you've been, to be erased, to be broken down, to be taken away from you, and then you are built up in the image of the military. So I would say that was essentially my journey into being inducted into military service, you know. But of course, there's also now my junction of conviction, you know, that point where I reached and I was like, God damn it, I am a soldier, you know. So I think I've had maybe 3 junctions like those ones. So the first one was during basic training, that point when I came face to face with the idea that I think I'm not the person I used to be. So we had gone to battle camp, and battle camp is hot, is dry. There's scarcity of everything that the body needs to sustain itself, but there's an abundance of everything that is meant to make you suffer and strive and just make you hungry and lonely and thirsty and just have a longing that you cannot be able to get. And you know, you're there, I'm like, I am who I am, I'm bougie, you know, I do things in a certain way. So we are basically crawling on the ground because, you know, it was like a match and shoot sort of situation. And I am so thirsty. I am so hungry. And I'm crawling on the ground, and then I feel something poke me on the side of my belly. And I'm like, oh, what's that? So I put my left hand into my pouch, and then I take out an orange, and I was like, oh my God, an orange. So let me tell you, and this is how I knew who I was God. I took a bite of it, I bit it, and I was like, and I sucked in all the water. I was like some sort of orange vampire, and and I drained that orange of all the water. Oh my God, it was so succulent. And I just felt it come inside me, and I felt alive, like my thirst was at least quenched. So my fingernails, first of all, dirty. My hands, my what? I didn't even bother washing my hands. They were red, I was dirty. And so you know the way you're told before you eat, wash your hands? No, that does not apply. In this situation, that does not apply. So I think it was like reaching that flashpoint of understanding that what you've been told is normal or real. Yeah, those rules don't apply here. Here, survival is your #1 priority. not etiquette, not, I don't know, hygiene. Bleh. And let me tell you, I never had a bout of diarrhea. My stomach never pained. I literally did not have any negative effect coming out of that. So that was fantastic. My second one that was also like a junction of conviction. I was on this convoy that was in Northeastern, and I remember I was going to do my my work. I was going to meet with soldiers who were in close operation and in the theater of war. So I had my security detail, and part of that convoy was made up of fridge trucks that were going to deliver food to soldiers who were at the front. So it was quite a convoy. And the thing that like blew my mind was that I was the highest ranking officer at that particular convoy. It's very important to say female. We have not come to that point where we've moved away from the gender aspect of, of the military and soldiers and officers and, whatever the case. So our female highest ranking officer, and then I had about 3 companies from different camps, because now everyone was going to go on one road and then branch out to the different places. So we get to this place and we get some information, and we're told that an ambush has been laid out for us by Al-Shabaab. So, let me be honest. Here to speak truth. My first thought was, what in God's good earth am I doing here? I'm just being honest. That was my first thought. I am the one who takes care of my daughter. I'm a mom. Like, what am I doing here? I'm a psychologist. I'm a specialist. Of all the general service officers, whether male or female, what am I doing here? That was my first thought. But, that quickly went away, because I just allowed it to pass. And I think there is nobody who receives news of a threat to life with jubilation, like, yeah, Al-Shabaab, woo, bring it on, I don't think there's anybody who does that. So like every other human being, I think my first reaction was just, this can't be happening, denial, So I swiftly moved through it and, came to the present moment where now I had an obligation to do 2 things. I had an obligation to make sure that the food gets to the soldiers at the front, and they need it for sustenance. You remember that story of mine during, battle camp? Supplies are critical for any military operation. So if you can't get food to the soldiers who are there doing everything that they can, you really have no purpose or no use. So that was my number 1 priority, to be able to ensure that this food got to them. My second priority was to ensure that I kept the soldiers I was with safe to the best of my ability. Of course, at that particular time is when now the idea of you being responsible and in charge of men who might actually die in the service of protection dawns. And let me tell you, that was quite a moment. Because at that particular time, even as now we are talking about how we are going to proceed forward, even as I give the battle orders, even as I rearrange the convoy, even as I talk to the different sergeant majors who are there to just ensure that there was organization, even as I'm there saying, you know, kila mtu lazima aweke risasi kwa chamber, you know, what are the, you know, platoon weapons that we have, you know, are they in order and stuff like that. When all this is happening, it's really dawning on me that I am being responsible at this time for men who might actually die. And let me tell you that it just, you know, it is a heavy burden on its own, and I really just absorbed it and took it on because it was like, that's my responsibility. Those men are my responsibility as the person on the ground. So that, I would say, was my, you know, my second junction of the making of myself into a soldier. And I guess for me, the third one that really defined my being in uniform, that also is a highlight, is when I was put in a position where I was asked to give information that was not accurate to the point of what was actually happening on the ground. And I was to, you know, have a straight face and say, this is what is happening, and yet it was not. And I remember struggling with that so much because I said no, and my no basically just disappeared into the air or something. And I was also scared because I understood my insisting on saying the no was actually going to put me at a huge risk of, you know, trumped up charges, being socially isolated, being, you know, wrongly accused, being ridiculed, you know. It was going to make a hostile working environment for me. So I remember living there and going to my car and crying, and really, really crying. And I went home that evening not knowing what was going to happen after the day after. But one thing that I knew for sure was that I wasn't going to stand there and lie with a straight face. So I was like, then I better be ready to face the music. Of course, being absent was not an option. I had to show up. So I actually decided that I'm neither going to become a victim, but I'm also not going to become a criminal. So I decided to become a survivor. So I actually called somebody who I felt was in a position to turn the situation around for me, and I called and I explained myself, you know, very confidently and very, you know, like I knew what I was talking about. And I said, and therefore I need you to help me by, and I stated what I needed done. And why that is a critical point is because I ended up telling somebody who was many ranks above mine what to do, which of course is unheard of. But I think one of the few things about the presidential parchment, which is a document that is given to all commissioned officers, and it's signed by the president, and in it he, you know, calls you by name, and he tells you that, you know, he's giving you the powers of command, and he orders you, you know, to like command everybody who is below your rank, and he orders you to be obedient to everybody who is above your rank, but in all things to be in the service of this country and to defend our borders and to defend the sovereignty of this country. So it's a very charged document. It's really called a parchment. So, you know, it calls you to be courageous, and part of having that courage is to be able to stand up as an officer and express yourself and speak for yourself, and not continuously be obedient without really not continuously have an unconscious obedience. So I would say those were, for me, the three junctions that stand out for me in the making of my being a soldier. Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of the principles that have actually sustained you over the years: integrity, courage, um, calling forth possibilities that are actually not present. Many people don't see those things. So you are also quite a visionary leader. So tell me about the True North experience. Why the word True North? For me, it actually evokes some playful images of a child with a compass, trying to navigate and find which side is actually north, you know. And I know from my geography that True North as a geographical location does not exactly exist, but that it's actually a creation of imagination, that we actually as human beings design something that we actually call the True North. So what does that stand for you? What does it mean, and how did you come up with this whole enterprise and foundation?
Well, I guess let's start with the name. And I was very curious and deeply reflective of the kind of name that I wanted to give what I felt I was called to do and what I had surrendered to commit to, which was being able to come to the assistance of military veterans in our families, myself being one, something that really had never been done before. And therefore, I didn't want something that was sounding extremely, militaristic, but I also didn't want something that was sounding extremely casual. And I wanted something that sounded true, that sounded real, that sounded aspirational, that sounded like it had a place it was going, that sounded like a journey, you know. So True North came to me in my sleep. Oh yeah, I like sleeping. Part of the reason I like sleeping is because it was one of the ways my brain goes offline. Because there's something about, being able to hear myself that comes when I am either meditating or I am asleep. So I am consciously aware, but I'm not consciously aware from the intellectual perspective. So when it came to me like that, it made absolute sense, because what I want True North to be able to continue to do is to once again help people to be on a trajectory on their lives that is one of the good life, that is one where the life experience is full, is one where the expectation is extended further and not curtailed by virtue of physical and emotional wounds that definitely come out of military service. So for someone to be able to find that orientation once again, because one thing about post-traumatic stress syndrome is that it completely disorients you. You don't know when it's day, when it's night. You don't know whether it's Monday or Tuesday. You don't know whether people are genuine or not. You are constantly paranoid. You don't trust yourself. You don't trust the people around you. You don't trust the world. You don't even trust sounds. You don't trust what you see. You don't trust what you hear. There's just a general feeling of distrust and paranoia and fear and anxiety. And if you are to even visualize somebody going through all that, you can obviously see it's in disarray. So True North is basically being able to bring back a form of reorientation that is not necessarily once before experienced, but it could be a new direction that has been newly found through healing and growth, through the process that True North is able to provide to somebody who is going through that process in their lives where they have been taken off course and they're just in disarray.
I love your True North manifesto, and now your True North Global. Yeah, and some of your highlights, I mean, just a few, is you are an Amani Fellow, you are an Acumen Fellow. I have seen a game up for military personnel. I have seen quite a number of high-flying, interviews and awards. Tell us, what are your highlights or key milestone achievements over the course of your career?
I think I've been very blessed to have the opportunity of receiving what I need in my life when I need it. And by that I mean that, when I think about my training in Israel, when I think about, my training in incident command systems, when I think about my training in polygraph testing, when I think about my Acumen Fellowship, when I think about my Amani Fellowship, when I think about my global leadership coaching program, they all came to serve me at a point where that's what I needed. I would say those have been the major milestones, to be able to be presented with an opportunity to pivot when I had reached the saturation point of where I needed to be at that particular point. Because one of the things that I think could have set me on a different course is if I had reached a point of saturation in a certain, in a certain professional level that I was on, and there was no movement upward or forward to be able to expand my skill set, to be able to expand my knowledge and understanding, to be able to expand my networks, to be able to expand my awareness. I think that's how brains die. I think that's how creativity dies. I think that's how inspiration dies. So my key milestones have been able to have the opportunity to pivot at the different points of my career. Yeah.
And specifically on the APA International Humanitarian Award that you are due to collect in August this year.
Yeah.
Did you apply for this award? Tell us the process of selection, or how you got to actually receive the news that you were an award recipient.
I was nominated. I was nominated. And I think it's very important to mention that being able to have people speak on your behalf is very important. Now, I'm not saying they just woke up and said they're going to nominate her. I was like, yo, what do you think? You think I have something to contribute to here? And they felt that I did. But I think the most critical part of it is that the good people at the American Psychological Association thought that I actually have made a suitable contribution, a sustainable contribution, a meaningful contribution. So they agreed with the people who had nominated me. And I think that's very important. For me, it was very validating, because I'll be honest with you, and we say we're speaking truth here. Half of the time I don't know what I'm doing.
But this is who you are. You are always designing and inventing.
That's true.
You don't have to know the end.
That's the thing.
Going.
Yes, and that's what I think makes me so radical, because, and I've owned it, because we've been fed this thing that you have to know what you're doing all the time. You have to know the outcome that will happen. We are dealing in spaces where we are the pioneers. I am dealing in spaces where I'm the one who is actually with the machete and cutting through the forest and making a path. And I have released myself from having to know everything. let me tell you, I have failed many times. I was just discussing this with my daughter the other day. We were talking about school and her grades and stuff like that, and I told her, I have failed so many times. Not everything I've done has worked out, but one of the things that I have gotten accustomed to is, number one, to not own failure. Like, I don't own it as my personal thing, that I've failed. Oh my God, I'm such a failure. I've failed. Oh my God, what did I do wrong? Oh my God. I'm just like, oh, that didn't work. So I suppose that's not how that's supposed to work. Oops, my bad. Let's try it another way. And I'm not saying that it's always as cheerful and joyful as I'm making it seem. Sometimes it takes me to actually sit down and isolate and reflect and think about what happened and what opportunities and possibilities can come out of that. So the most important thing is just not to be able to own that.
Yeah, got that. And I'll be going into a little bit of your achievements going forward in a few, but before that, what would you describe as your lowest moments?
I've had many. But I guess in a nutshell, I could say my lowest moments are when I was struggling with the truth. I think I have found over and over again, when I see something for what it is and I accept it for what it is, be it a circumstance, a person, a time, an object, I don't go into this space of low is not the word, darkness is not even the word. I don't go into this space of just of collapsing into a heap of nothingness. That used to happen, I must say. But the more I have reflected upon it, the more I have been able to consider my inner process and feelings and thoughts and how it leaves, the state it leaves me in, and I'm like, if I accepted this for what it is, it wouldn't crush me. Like, if I accepted this is horrible, this is terrible, this is sad, this is heartbreaking, this is horrendous, this is catastrophic, and I just accept it and say it is all those things, and I do what needs to be done. And if that means I cry, I cry. If that means I am just in this state where I'm like, oh my God, and I'm crying all the time, that's what it means. So I don't necessarily think of feeling sad or crying as a low moment. I think of it as a transitional moment. By acknowledging what's happening and just letting it move through me so that I can move on to the next thing. So being able to release the egocentric part of me, that has been an ongoing job. Like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, the ego must die, the ego must die, the ego must die. So it becomes the thing that I use as my daily mantra, and it's been useful to me because, wow, let me tell you, if I have to be reactive or triggered by everything going on around me, I think I would be in a different state of mind. But I am just more of, this is what it is, I accept it.
Yeah, I think this has also become a transformative gift that you give people by you letting go and you actually working on yourself,
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, this is exactly what you give, to your community, and your community is now thriving thanks to you, and your transformation. Wow, that's amazing. So you have been nominated for a global award by the APA. What are your hopes for this opportunity? What do you think this will unveil, and what are the bigger doors that it will open?
Well, There's a lot happening right now. I may not be able to share all of it, but it's definitely not even a question of what doors is it going to open, but it has already opened like an entire new universe of networks for me. And I'm looking forward to this year to be able to get into spaces I haven't gotten into before and do the things that I've been longing to do, and to be able to bring people along with me who want to come along and who are able to understand that it is a matter of being able to like bolster yourself so that you're more competent to hold more space for people. So I'm really excited about that. Like I said, I can't talk about all of it right now, but I will do so in the course of the year as it unfolds. Because at the end of the day, I'm still an African. We don't count our chicks before they hatch.
Right. Oh,
And I'm also a farmer, so especially for ducks, you can't even touch their eggs, otherwise forget about it. Yeah, but definitely in terms of being able to advance the promotion of human rights and the citizen rights, especially for military veterans and our families, that's at the topmost of the list of what this particular award is going to be able to do.
Oh, that's amazing. I am a member of a family where I'm a civilian sister to a military major in a different country. Yeah. So I can't wait to see, what you'll be opening up for us from this award. So what is your, of course you've had, by all standards, you're a humanitarian. You've had a lot of work, not just in mental health, but in parliament, advocating for mental health, as well as, in government. The inaugural mental health conference would not have happened if it were not for you, and many, many others. By all sense, you're a humanitarian. So what is your parting shot as we finish for aspiring mental health professionals and advocates who regard your brand, True North, as very powerful, and those who would like to impact lives as you do, and even maybe greater than you do? What would you advise them?
I think I would say to everyone that they should just be able to follow the work. Follow the work. Follow the work where it takes you. And the work will never mislead you. Just follow the work. And of course, for anybody else who wants to be able to grow from what I know, I think you saw something I had put out about psychology as a business, about psychologists being able to come to provide their services here. And of course, as time goes by, to also offer internship opportunities for people. And I guess the idea of just having a network where we exchange ideas will continue as it has always done. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joyce. I appreciate it. Yeah.